Welcome back, language learners. In today's explainer, we're taking something that might seem a little complex and making it crystal clear. We're tackling a foundational piece of Arabic grammar, and honestly, we're going to make it incredibly simple and visually logical for you to grasp. If you've ever felt intimidated by learning a new language, especially one with a completely different alphabet, well, you are in the perfect place. We're breaking things down to their absolute simplest components.
Now, think about your daily life for just a second. How often do you actually point to things? Pass me that book, or hey, look at this picture. Pointing is this totally universal human action, right? It's literally how we navigate the physical world and show people what we're focused on. But how exactly do you do that in Arabic? How do you take this natural human reflex and translate it into a completely new structure? Well, that is exactly what we're going to unlock today. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our quick roadmap for today. Number 1, what is Ism al-Ishaarah? Number 2, the 4 pointing words. 3, classroom objects in action. 4, Ahmed and Sarah speak. And finally, number 5, a quick recap and practice.
All right, starting with part 1. What exactly is Ism al-Ishaarah? So the Arabic term Ism al-Ishaarah might look a little intimidating right out of the gate, but really, don't let the grammatical jargon fool you. In English grammar, we just call these demonstrative pronouns. But honestly, I want you to focus on the literal translation here. It simply means words of indication. That's literally all it is. It's just a fancy label for pointing words. Anytime you need to indicate a specific object, boom, you use an Ism al-Ishaarah. Moving on to part 2, the 4 pointing words. This is our core vocabulary. But before we actually learn the words themselves, we absolutely have to understand the core rule that governs them. And what's really fascinating here is the rule of contrast in Arabic. Unlike English, where we just say this or that and don't worry about the object itself, Arabic categorizes words by gender. You've got masculine rules and feminine rules. So when you point to an object, you first have to know if that object is considered masculine or feminine, because that completely changes the pointing word you're going to use. It's basically a binary system that dictates every single move we make next. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the system works. We have a simple 2x2 matrix here. Check out the columns, masculine and feminine. And then our rows, near, which means this, and far, which means that. Let's walk through it together. If an object is near and masculine, we use Hada. If it's near but feminine, we use Hadihi. Okay, now for the bottom row. If the object is far away and masculine, we use Dhalika. And if it's far away and feminine, we use Tilka. So that's Hada, Hadihi, Dhalika, Tilka. You're definitely going to want to lock this grid into your memory, because these 4 words are basically your master keys to pointing in Arabic. Okay, part 3. Classroom objects in action. Let's see how this actually works. I want you to imagine you're sitting right in the middle of a vibrant Arabic classroom. To really put our new pointing words to the test, we need some actual things to point at, right? So we've got some essential everyday vocabulary, a book, a pen, a chair, a board, and a window. These are 5 incredibly concrete objects you'd find in literally any learning environment. Let's see how those 4 master keys interact with stuff like this. We're going to start with the items right next to us, the near items. As we just saw in our matrix, if an object is right in front of you, you're going to use either Hada for masculine objects or Hadihi for feminine ones. So say you're holding a masculine object, like a book or a pen, or maybe you're touching the chair right next to you, you'd pair it with Hada, this book, this pen.
But if you have a feminine object close by, you pair it with Hadi. Try to mentally repeat that combination as we go. If it's right there close to you, it's got to be Hada or Hadi.
Now, let's expand our vision across the room and see how this builds. We're looking at far items now. Maybe it's the board way over on the wall, or the window looking outside. Because the distance has changed, our pointing words have to change too. So we drop down to the bottom row of our matrix. We use Dhalika for a masculine object that's far away, meaning that object. And we use Tilka for a feminine object that is far away, meaning that feminine object over there. Makes sense, right?
All right, moving into part 4, Ahmed and Sarah speak. Let's look at a short dialogue. Now for the really fun part, let's actually bring this to life. Imagine a guy named Ahmed is holding something right in his hands. He looks over at Sarah and asks a question. Since the object is right there with him, he uses a near demonstrative pronoun from the top row of our matrix. He's essentially asking, "What is this?" Sarah looks at the object in his hands, and to answer him, she replies using the exact same correct near demonstrative pronoun, identifying the object. This is a book. Notice how smoothly and logically the vocabulary fits right into everyday dialogue? The distance is established, the gender matches perfectly, and the communication is completely clear.
But then Ahmed turns around. He spots something all the way across the classroom, mounted on the wall. He points his finger across the room and asks Sarah another question. Now, because the object is distant, he shifts gears. He uses a far demonstrative pronoun to ask, "What is that?"
Sarah follows his finger, looking all the way across the room. She identifies the distant object and replies with the corresponding far demonstrative pronoun. That is a board. And honestly, just by understanding those two variables, distance and gender, you have just successfully followed a perfectly structured Arabic interaction. You know exactly what Ahmed and Sarah are doing, where the objects are located, and exactly how they're communicating about them. How cool is that? And that brings us to part 5, a quick recap and practice. So the absolutely crucial point here boils down to this incredibly simple 4-word framework. We've got Hada for this when the object is masculine. We've got Hadihi for this when it's feminine. Then Dhalika for that when it's masculine. And finally Tilka for that when it's feminine. Honestly, distance and gender, that is the entire secret to al-Ishaarah. So now I'm leaving you with a bit of a challenge. Practice and repeat this daily. Literally, look around the room you're in right now. Point to a pen, a chair, or look out the window, and mentally pair those objects with Hada, Hadihi, Dhalika, and Tilka. You hold the master keys now. But I want you to ask yourself, once you can point to literally everything in your world, what are you going to learn how to say about them next? Keep pointing, keep practicing,